Mataji, we will wait another couple of minutes, Mataji.
Yeah, sure, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji, Kirtida Mataji. Hare Krishna, everyone. Welcome today's evening Srimad Bahagvatam summary session. And today we have Kirtida Mataji. Again, last week also Mataji has enlightened us on the Srimad Bahagvatam summary. This week also Mataji is going to enlighten, and Mataji is going to speak today, third canto, chapter 8. Last week we saw chapter 7 and this week chapter 8. Mataji, thank you so much for your valuable time and association. Please accept my humble obeisances. Please take over the call, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji. Thank you so much, and thank you everybody for joining us. So we'll begin with our Mangalacharan, and then we'll start with the chapter summary. Om Ajnanatirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manubhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadhamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatham Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tham Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakha Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Deen Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namastute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Shri Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Panchatattvatakam Krishna Bhaktarupa Sarupakam Bhaktavtaram Bhaktakyam Namami Bhakta Shaktikam Namam Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharini Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhayevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैता गदाधर शिवास आदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवते उत्तम श्लोके भक्ति नैष्ठिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकी नंदनाय च नंदगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः नमः पंकजनामान नाभाय नमः पंकजमालिने नमः पंकजनेत्राय नमस्ते पंकजांग्रिये गुरुवे गौरचंद्राय राधिकाय तदालय कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः मुखं करोति वाचालं पंगुं लंघायते गिरिं यत्कृपहातमहं वन्दे श्रीगुरुदीनतारिणं परमानन्दमाधवं श्रीकृष्ण चैतन्य ईश्वरम् Hare Krishna, dear devotees. I'm sorry, I'm not feeling well today. So maybe let me know if my voice is not audible. I can little bit increase. But thank you once again for joining. So before we will start our chapter summary of Canto 3, chapter number 8. I don't know how many. I'm pretty sure 2-3 of you were there last week. So I want to ask, do you remember where we ended? The last chapter. Anyone of you remember anything about the last chapter? We saw, right, that Vidura asked so many questions in the last few verses, 10 to 12 verses. He asked so many questions to Maitreya. Anyone remembers any one question?
Hare Krishna Mataji, I just remember one point from the class. So that the point was like it's ultimately the devotional service which can take us out of this birth, death, and cycle. And it's ultimately we have to only with the pure devotees association we can get it, with Guru's mercy only. And we have to surrender to Guru, and we have to ask, like how here we are seeing a lot of questions were asked. And the mood of asking is like we have to, Haribol, 1 minute. We have to be in such a mood that we should know. 1 second, Mataji. Mataji, very background noise is there. So we should be in such a mood that we don't know what to ask also. That point really touched my heart last week when you were explaining that I really don't know what to ask, but I wanted to learn and I should be very humble. That is the way to approach, and only through the spiritual master's mercy we can understand.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you. You covered a lot of points. Yes, miraculous Mukund. Do you remember any one question that Vidura asked from Maitreya? Yes, Mukund.
Yes, Mataji, I remember from last class. Vidura asked, how is the Lord who is spiritual and who is transcendental is still connected to the material gunas?
Yeah, these were all questions that Maitreya has already answered in the last chapter. But before beginning this chapter, there were few questions that Vidura asked and Maitreya is supposed to answer in this chapter.
Mataji, was it
I can't hear you.
Mataji, was it what is devotional service?
No. So actually, I'll just say that in chapter number 7 that ended, Vidura asked many questions. Yes, all like you said, that he was asking about the Supreme Lord, that how he's unlimited, but still how he's connected to the modes of material nature, how we can understand that. Yes, it's very good, but Maitreya has already answered those questions. And then as Vita Gandharvika Mataji was saying, that Vidura also shows his genuine humility and how he wants to approach to Maitreya Muni for asking all these questions. And that also gives us the understanding how we should also approach to the spiritual master when we have some doubts. But in the last, Vidura asked so many questions to Maitreya Muni about Brahma. He wanted to know about how Lord Brahma came into being, about the Prajapatis, about the Manus, about the descendants of Manu, about the planetary portions, systems. You remember that he wanted to ask about Sarga, Visarga, Poshana. He wanted to know the clarification that how the living entities who are bound in this material nature, about Varnashrama system, he wants to know. He wants to know about people who indulge into fruitive activities, about their charity, about their duties. We want to know about the men who wants to retire. What is the real truth? All these questions, so many. There's a list of questions that Vidura asked. Anyway, and after asking this question, Vidura declared his confidence in Maitreya Rishi and said that your answers will provide great help. It will grant immunity from all material miseries. And this greatest welfare activity is much more greater than any amount of charity, any amount of austerity one can do. Sorry. So any amount of charity one can do, or any amount of austerity one can do. So he was very happy with Maitreya Muni, and he showed his confidence also, that I'm so much confident that whatever answer you will give will be right. To this, we ended the chapter. Maitreya was also very much enlivened by the questions that Vidura asked. But then from this chapter, it begins that Maitreya, he responded to Vidura and he said, it's not only you, but I am also very, very fortunate to get your association. Why? Because he said, oh Vidura, you are born in a very, very glorious dynasty of King Puru, where all the kings, all the descendants were actually Rajarishis. Why? Because they were kings at the same time. They were devoted to Lord Bhagavan, Lord Krishna. And because of your attempt, now you are asking so many wonderful questions that makes me to make a beautiful garland for Lord Krishna about his glories, because you are asking me about him. So naturally, I am speaking something, and they are like the flowers in which I am threading them through, and it's been make a beautiful garland, and it's becoming newer and newer every moment. So Maitreya said, I'm very, very fortunate to have your association. So in chapter number 5, actually, 3 chapters before, Vidura asked this question that how one can attain real happiness. To this, Maitreya in this chapter said that, oh Vidura, remember you asked this question? And now from here onwards, I am going to narrate you the entire Srimad Bahagvatam. That Srimad Bahagvatam, which was directly spoken by Bhagavan. That Srimad Bahagvatam, which was directly spoken by the Supreme Lord. He said that today I'm going to narrate that Srimad Bahagvatam to you. So you are very, very fortunate, because whatever I'll be speaking in the disciplic succession. So that's what Maitreya Muni said, that I will speak this Srimad Bahagvatam, which was spoken by Bhagavan, which is actually for the benefit of all the people in general. And Prabhupada writes that yes, Srimad Bahagvatam is actually the solution of all the problems of human society. So especially when we come into contact of a pure devotee, of a pure sadhu, who is in the disciplic succession, then one is very, very fortunate to come in his association and hear Srimad Bahagvatam. Because there is no difference between Bhuk Bhagavat and a person Bhagavat or a devotee Bhagavat. When we hear that book Bhagavat from a devotee Bhagavat, then definitely we are entitled to get out of the so-called material entanglements. Saying this, Maitreya Muni, he started narrating. And he said that, some times ago, the sages headed by Sanat Kumar, there were 4 sages and all other sages also were there, but it was headed by Sanat Kumar. They went down to the Pathal Lok, and there they saw Lord Sankarshan, who was situated below the Pathal Lok, and they asked him the truth regarding Vasudev. At that time, Maitreya Muni said Lord Sankarshan was meditating on his supreme Lord, that is Lord Vasudev. But for the sake of sages, he slightly opened his lotus-like eyes, and he said that, yes, please tell me, what bring you here? You sages have come down all the way from the higher planetary system, just like Ganga flows down from the higher planetary system to the lower planetary system. And to this, Srila Prabhupada writes in the purport that the Ganges water, it flowed directly from the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord. We know that how when Keshava, he took the form of Vaman avatar, at that time giving one of the boons to Bali Maharaj, he stretched his foot, he stretched his leg, and his foot pierced the river, the Viraja river, and there the Ganga flows. So actually the Ganga that is flowing is the Charanamrit of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because it has washed the lotus feet. So Ganges is the only celestial river that flows entire throughout this universe. And whoever, Prabhupada says, whoever touches the water of river Ganges to his head is surely touches the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord directly. That living entity or that person can become free from all kind of sinful acts. So if after, now Prabhupada then writes, but if after, then that doesn't mean that whosoever will take bath in the Ganges will be purified. Yes, that person will be purified for sure. But after taking bath, if one doesn't commit any sinful activities and stay pure, then definitely that person will be liberated. But if again one commits and takes up on sinful activities, then his bath in the Ganga is just like the bath of an elephant who nicely takes bath in a river, but then spoils the whole thing by covering himself with the dust when he comes on the land. So therefore, if we get the opportunity to bathe in river Ganga, we should be rest assured that our sinful actions have been omitted, and now we should not try to commit any further sinful actions, because that will be simply regarded as the elephant's bath. So this way, Lord Sankarshan also glorified the sages, that you all are also so pure like Ganga. And then 4 Kumaras headed by Sanat Kumar, then they glorified the Lord with selected words and addressed him as Uttama Shloka. So what is the meaning of Uttama Shloka? Uttama Shloka means one who is worshipped with selected words. With selected words, when somebody worships the Supreme Lord, that is known as Uttama Shloka. So only when one develops that love and affection, Prabhupada says, towards the Supreme Lord, only they can offer their sweet prayers to the Lord. And very suitably, the Lord accepts. So therefore, the Lord is known as Uttama Shloka. The Sanat Kumar, they heard Srimad Bahagvatam directly from Lord Sankarshan. And then after hearing from Lord Sankarshan, they explained it to Sankhyayana Muni. And this Sankhyayana Muni, this great sage, was the chief among the transcendentalists. And he described everything to Parashar Muni and Brahaspati. And they both were the spiritual master of Maitreya Muni. So Maitreya Muni heard from Parashar Muni. So this is how he said that I am giving you whatever I heard from my spiritual authority. And this is what is known as disciplic succession. So the sages, they heard directly from Lord Sankarshan. And then after hearing, the sages gave that knowledge to Sankhyayana Muni. Sankhyayana Muni then gave this knowledge to Parashar Muni, and Parashar Muni then further gave it to Maitreya Muni. And now Maitreya Muni is giving it to Vidura. So this is how in the disciplic succession, when the knowledge gets come in, then it is very, very bona fide. Then Maitreya said that actually what happens is, he started actually the description of the regeneration of creation after the end of the night of Brahma. So we know that Brahma, he lives for 100 years. And one day of Brahma, that is one kalpa, is 1,000 Divya Yugas. So 1,000 Divya Yugas, one Divya Yuga is one Treta, one Satyug, one Dwapar, and one Kali. So 1,000 such Divya Yugas is actually the one day of Brahma. And so 1,000 yugas are one night of Brahma. So you can imagine. So there is a dissolution, there is a partial annihilation that happens at every night of Brahma. So every night, Brahma also gets bewildered and he also goes back to the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Well, that will come. But right now, Maitreya said that I want to tell you how this regeneration of creation takes place at the night of Brahma every day. And then Maitreya started narrating. And he said when the universe was submerged in the dissolution, means when the partial annihilation was happened, the entire universe was submerged in the dissolution waters. And then there was Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, who was lying on the bed of Anantashesh, but he was simply enjoying with his internal potency, with his eyes half closed. He was in his yoga nidra. And the Lord, in whom all the living entities remained, along with their subtle bodies, decided, he himself, Lord, decided to be present below Patal Lok, within the water. So he was, Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, was in the water of dissolution. And all the living entities, they were in the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, along with their subtle bodies. What are the three subtle bodies? Mind, intelligence, and false ego. So everybody took shelter in the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, along with Lord Brahma also. And the entire universe was filled with water. And this Garbhodakshaya Vishnu was present on below Patal Lok, means at the bottom of the universe, he was present there. And Prabhupada gives a beautiful analogy that just like the strength of fire is present within the fuel, within the wood, within the fuel wood, similarly, all the living entities were present in the body of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So then Maitreya Muni said that actually in case of full dissolution, when the complete dissolution happens, at the end of Brahma's life, means after 100 years, the material energy is completely wound up because the entire universe gets in the body of Karanodakshaya Vishnu. Remember, you must be knowing about all these three Vishnus because that must have been covered in the previous chapters. So Karanodakshaya Vishnu exhales and inhales, and through which the universe comes into being and goes back into his body. So Maitreya Muni is explaining that after the end of Brahma's life, the entire universe goes back in the body of Karanodakshaya Vishnu, who's lying on the causal ocean. And when he inhales, so the entire universe goes out. But in the case of partial dissolution that I'm describing now, which happens actually at the end of every day of Brahma. So that time, only the jivas, along with their gross bodies and subtle bodies, they enter into the body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. So it's not the entire universe has been taken away, but all the planetary systems are destroyed until the level of Swargaloka. And because it is half submerged, the entire universe is half submerged with the water. So therefore, all the jivas, they enter into the body of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. And then how they become reawakened? They get reawakened with the glance of the Supreme Lord that sprout, and he glances because the lotus sprouts from the navel, taking the shape of a lotus bud, which is known as Padma Kosha. And it illuminates everything like the sun. Such an impetus of activity, Prabhupada says, for fruitive activity is made possible only by the dictation of the external energy, which is known as Maya Shakti. So which is also known as Kala Shakti. So then what happens is Lord Vishnu himself enters into that lotus flower, impregnates it with all the modes, and then Brahma, known as self-born, who is Swam Bhuvan, is actually find himself situated on that lotus flower. But as soon as Brahma saw himself to be situated on the lotus flower, because he is the first person to come into being, he became perplexed. He don't know what to do. He doesn't know why he was created, why he was here. Though he just woke up from a sleep, but that sleep was pretty long, and Brahma was again in mode of ignorance, and he doesn't know what to do. So he started looking in all the four directions. And Prabhupada says, because he was looking in all the four directions, he got the four heads. So therefore, the Brahma of our universe is a four-headed Brahma. But he was very bewildered. And he was bewildered about the creation. It was very difficult for himself to find out. He was unable to find the mystery of creation, that why I am here. He doesn't know his power to create because he was not able to find out. And then Brahma started contemplating. He started contemplating, who am I? Why I am situated on the top of this lotus? Where from this lotus has sprouted? So he thought that there must be some source of this lotus. So Brahma, just after thinking that there must be some source, he started entering the lotus stem. And he went closer at the navel of Garbhodakshai Vishnu. But even after that, he could not trace out the root. And he thought that my time is simply passing away. I don't know what to do. And therefore, he started coming up on the lotus where he was there. To this, Prabhupada shares a very nice realization. He says that this shows that our personal endeavor are not sufficient for our success. If we think that, okay, let me complete this work, and if I accomplish this work, I'll be successful. But our personal endeavor will not lead us to success. Just like Brahma, he was also endeavoring, going up and down on that lotus stem, but he couldn't understand what was the reason of his creation, what he has to do next. He was completely in ignorance. He was completely bewildered. So what is needed is that one has to have the mercy of the Supreme Lord. It's only the mercy that will help us. Remember in the Damodar Leela also, when it's been explained that the moment Mother Yashoda was trying to bind Krishna, every time it was 2 fingers short. So this 2 fingers, our acharyas explain, represents mercy and endeavor. At the same time, yes, our endeavor is very important. Without our endeavor, we cannot achieve anything what we want to. But at the same time, the mercy aspect of Krishna should also be there. Now, if one will say that, okay, let me just simply depend upon mercy. If Krishna wants, it will happen. Well, and let me not do any endeavor. Let me just focus on mercy. That also won't work. We need the combination of both. We need our endeavors and we need mercy. So we have to have our own sadhana. At the same time, we should plead Krishna for the kripa. So when these two go hand in hand, then the success is guaranteed. So similarly, Brahma was thinking that my life, the duration of my life is decreasing by the influence of the time chakra of Vishnu, the Kala chakra. And this is the same Kala chakra that brings fear in the mind of all the living entities, that fear of death. And so Brahma was also thinking. And so thus giving up his all unsuccessful search, what Brahma did, he came back on the top of the lotus, and then he started concentrating his mind onto the Supreme Lord. Srila Prabhupada explains, this is the right direction. This is the thing that we have to give up. That Brahma's giving up his personal endeavor and taking to meditation on the Lord is actually the sign of self-surrenderance, which has been inspired by the Lord's mercy only. So yes, surrenderance also comes by Lord mercy, but we have to do our part of the contract. We have to do our side. Our endeavor should be there. Every living entity should be surrendered to Krishna. Every living entity should be engaged in the devotional service of Lord. And we should think that if you want, Lord, if you wish, then let it that be happen. So at the end of Brahma's 100 years, when he meditated, it's 100 earthly years actually, when his meditation was complete, he developed the right knowledge, the required knowledge that was needed. And as a result, he could see in his heart the Supreme Lord himself, whom he has never seen before, with his greatest endeavor, what he was trying to do. So it was the mercy of the Supreme Lord that the Supreme Lord gave him this vision. And Srila Prabhupada says that it's only through the process of devotional service one can experience the Supreme Lord. By one's own endeavor, it is very hard to know about the Supreme Lord. One has to wait for the mercy of the Lord before one can either render service to him or know about him. So even if we want to chant our rounds, we need the mercy of pure devotees. We need the mercy of Lord. Only then our hands will go to a bead bag and we'll start chanting. If we want to do any other kind of devotional service, we need the mercy of the Lord. Because if the mercy is not there, then the service will also not come. So the services come only by the mercy. And when the services come, then yes, we have to put the best of our efforts. The best of our efforts should be put into it. So Brahma, at that time, when he was enlightened, he could see the entire water. He could see the universe filled with water. And he could see the big gigantic body of Sheshnag, upon which this Garbhodakshai Vishnu, the Lord, he was lying himself. And his jewels, and the jewels on the head of Sheshnag was actually illuminating all the directions, because of which Brahma could see. And then Brahma compared, he said that the beautiful body luster of the Supreme Lord mocked the beauty of the coral mountain. His yellowish garments mocked the beauty of evening sky. And his crown, which was bedecked with so many jewels, actually was putting shame to a golden summit of a mountain. And his limbs with ornaments decorated with tulsi and garlands were mocking the beauty of mountains and waterfalls. So this way, self-illuminated Krishna, self-illuminated Garbhodakshai Vishnu, and well-ornamented, and unlimitedly he was occupying entire space in the three planetary systems. The Lord then very mercifully showed his lotus feet to Brahma. These lotus feet are actually the source of all awards which is achieved by devotional service. And such awards are only given to those who worship him in pure devotion. His splendorous moonlight toenails, they appear like the petals of a lotus flower. The Lord then acknowledged the service of Brahma, and his beautiful smile, vanquished the distress of Brahma. His face was very pleasing, and with his beautiful sesame nose and his eyebrows and the rays that was coming from his lips and his earrings. Everything was so illuminated, and Brahma was so much pleased. And then sage Maitreya, this Muni, he's told to Vidura, "Oh Vidura, the Lord's waist was covered with yellow cloth, when it resembled the saffron dust of Kadamba flower." So there's I don't know how many of you have seen that Kadamba flower. If you see, and if you dust it, there is some saffron particles that comes. So it's very, very shining. So the Lord's waist was covered with that yellow cloth, which resembles the saffron dust particles coming from Kadamba flower. His waist was encircled by well-decorated belt, and his chest was marked with Shrivastha mark. And just like the sandalwood is decorated, the sandalwood is decorated with fragrant flowers and branches. Similarly, the Lord's body was decorated with valuable jewels and pearl. And then sage Maitreya, he said that this is all the vision of Brahma that Brahma is seeing. So he said, then Brahma started comparing. He started comparing the body, the complete Lord body is compared to a sandalwood tree. Just like sandalwood tree gives so much of fragrant smell, similarly, the presence of Lord actually perfumed the entire universe. The entire universe was fragrant. His valuable jewels, the pearls that he was wearing, they are compared to the fragrant flowers and branches of that sandalwood tree. Lord is just like Lord is the origin of all the others in the universe. Just like he's there as the origin, similarly, the sandalwood tree is actually the real tree, the self-situated tree whose roots cannot be seen. Lord is the protector of the whole world, just like the sandalwood tree is the king of all the trees. And Lord was covered by many hoods of Ananta, just like the sandalwood tree is always covered, wrapped by many snakes. So this way, he compared the Supreme Lord to the sandalwood tree. And then Brahma couldn't stop. And he thought, no. Actually, the Lord is compared to a great mountain. And he started comparing Lord with a great mountain. And he said that just as the great mountain gives shelter to all the creatures, similarly, Lord Garbhodakshai Vishnu, whom he was seeing, is giving shelter to all the moving and non-moving entities. And he said, just like a great mountain is a friend of the snakes, similarly, Lord Ananta is the friend of the Supreme Lord. Just like a great mountain has thousands of golden peaks, similarly, thousands of golden helmeted hoods of Ananta were covering the Supreme Lord. And just like the great mountain is always filled with so many jewels, similarly, Lord body was also decorated with so many jewels and ornaments. And this way he started comparing to the Supreme Lord with the mountain. So when Lord Brahma saw Lord, he simultaneously glanced over the creation also. And then Lord Brahma saw the lotus in Lord's Vishnu's navel. He came to know his origin, his position, where he was, from where he has come. Then he saw himself. He saw the devastating water. He saw the drying air, and he saw the sky. And all these things became visible to Lord Brahma, which are actually the ingredients required for next creation. So this is all the good vision that Brahma got. But how did he get this vision? Only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord. Thus Lord Brahma, being surcharged with the mode of passion, began to offer his respectful prayers to the Supreme Lord. And he asked for his creativity. He asked the benediction so that he can create further. Srila Prabhupada writes that even if one is in the material mode of passion, to create something in the world, one need to take shelter of the Supreme Lord for the necessary energy that is needed to complete this task. So just like we need, similarly, Brahma was also relying on the mercy of the Supreme Lord. And therefore, he started offering his prayers. So this chapter was very small chapter. We will end here. And next Thursday, in the chapter number 9, we will see that when Lord Brahma offers, how he offers his prayers to the Supreme Lord, asking him the benediction to help him for creating further. So that we will see in the next chapter, that how beautifully Brahma prays. So till now we just saw, I'll summarize, that Vidura in the last chapter asked so many questions, and Maitreya, and also glorified Maitreya, and Maitreya was also very happy. And he said that actually he is blessed to describe, to have the association of Vidura. And then Maitreya described him and said that, oh, I'm so much enlivened with your questions, so let me explain this entire Srimad Bahagvatam to you. But then he said that this Srimad Bahagvatam is coming from the disciplic succession, that how Sanat Kumar heard from Lord Sankarshan, and then Sanat Kumar gave this knowledge to Sankhya-pana Muni. Sankhya-pana Muni gave down this knowledge to Parashar Muni, and from Parashar Muni came to Maitreya Muni, and finally from Maitreya Muni to Vidura. So this is how he said that whatever I'm speaking is bona fide. Don't think that this is my mental concoction. And then he started describing about Brahma, that how every day Brahma, after the day of Brahma, when the night comes, the partial devastation happens, where the 3/4 of the universe is covered with water, but Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is there, and all the living entities enter into his body. And then he said that how Brahma came into being from the lotus that sprouted from the navel of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. But Brahma was perplexed. He doesn't know what to do. He went in and out, but he couldn't find the root of his existence. And then he started meditating on the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, and through which the mercy of the Supreme Lord flowed in, and the Supreme Lord showed him his lotus feet, and finally Brahma was able to see the Supreme Lord. And first Brahma compared the entire body of the Supreme Lord with sandalwood tree, and then he compared him with a great golden mountain. But finally, after glorifying the Supreme Lord, the Brahma, he could see that this is the devastation that happened. This is the Supreme Lord. He could see his origin that is coming out from the lotus navel of the Supreme Lord. He could see the air. He could see the sky. So all these are the basic ingredients that were needed for Brahma to create. But still, he thought that on my own, I cannot do. So he started offering his prayers to Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from whose navel he originated. And how he offers his prayers and what benedictions he asks, that we will see in the next chapter. So thank you all so much. It was a very short chapter. So it was completed in half an hour. That's good. So let's see if we have any quick questions or comments. Otherwise, we can end up.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanvat Pranam, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. What a beautiful class, Mataji. Thank you so much. But I have a question, Mataji. I don't know how to frame that question. Maybe you covered and there is a disturbance in the house and I couldn't hear properly. The question is, first you are saying that there was one Brahma and his lifespan is completed and the new Brahma came, or how is that, Mataji? I didn't
It's the same Brahma, because Brahma, he stays for 100 years. Okay. Now, this 100 years is not the 100 years of this earthly planet. His one day is compared to 1,000 Divya Yugas. So this one day of Brahma is 1,000 Divya Yugas. So one Divya Yuga has passed, and another Divya Yuga, that is one night of Brahma. At that time, Brahma goes into sleep. So when he wakes up from the sleep, he again finds himself on that lotus flower. And there again, Brahma is in the mode of ignorance, and he's perplexed and bewildered what to do and how to start. So this is what Maitreya Muni is saying. He's saying, I'm not talking about the total dissolution where the entire universe goes into the body of Karanadakshayi Vishnu, the Mahavishnu. I'm talking about the partial dissolution that happens every day of Brahma, means after every 1,000 Divya Yugas, the next 1,000 Divya Yugas is totally darkness. Why? Because Brahma has gone back to sleep. And when he comes back, he doesn't know what to do. He again finds himself in ignorance. So Maitreya Muni is describing that situation when the night of Brahma starts, and he describes that the 3/4 of the universe is filled with the devastation water, and it's only Garbhodakshayi Vishnu who is lying on the Anantashesh, is covering the entire planetary systems, all the 3 planetary systems, and he's shining like a golden mountain. So this is what Maitreya Muni is explaining, because all the living entities at that time are taking shelter of Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, which happens after every day of Brahma. Hope that helps.
Yeah, Mataji, understood. So that means he will forget everything again.
Oh yeah, he forgets every day. Every day Brahma will forget. Every day he'll say, Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Anjana Shalakaya. That please just give me the torch of knowledge.
Before that, he did everything. And again he forget. Again he sees everywhere tapa all that thing.
So it happens at every day of Brahma, because this is not a normal night of Brahma. Now, night is also 1,000 Divya Yugas. So Brahma forgets everything. He becomes so ignorant, he doesn't know what to do. So every day, when the night comes, Brahma sleeps, and as soon as the night is over and Brahma wakes up again, he doesn't know what to do. And again, he starts glorifying the Supreme.
Oh, very nice, Mataji. I didn't get, before I don't know that much clearly. I always used to get confused, but today that confusion is completely clear. Thank you so much. And one more interesting point that I learned was, like, because he was seeing in 4 directions, that's why he had got 4 heads.
That's what Prabhupada is saying.
Mataji?
Yes, that's what Prabhupada says, that our Brahma is 4-headed because he sees in the 4 direction, perplexed, bewildered, what to do, how to do. So therefore he acquires.
Because one time in our Bhakti Sangha only, someone asked why our Brahma has 4 heads, because each universe is different, and so our universe, that much capacity he needed, so that's why he got 4 heads, like that. Yeah, very, very nice chapter, Mataji.
Yeah, see, it's Canto 3, Chapter 8, verse number 16. Actually, the verse says, so the translation I'm reading, Brahma, born out of the lotus flower, could not see the world, although he was situated in that lotus flower. He therefore circumambulated all of space, and while moving his eyes in all directions, he achieved 4 heads in terms of the 4 directions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is the verse. Nice. This is not the purport, but this is the verse. But
it's a translation itself. Okay. Very nice, Mataji. And I really like that how Lord was wearing the yellow color dress and Kadamba flower, Mataji, was it? Kadamba flower?
Kadamba flower. Yeah.
Kadamba flower, everything.
Beautiful flower with the little white spots. So when you dust the flower, you could see the particles, the yellow particles, and they are similar as if the saffron particles are there.
Yeah, and at the end, I really like that point where he gets everything, but still he knows that I could not do anything without the Lord's mercy. Again, he's depending on the Lord, and he's saying that, yes, I got everything. Please give me the strength to do it further, to make a creation. That I really like. And one more thing is when Maitreya was saying to Vidura that this is not the knowledge that I am giving you, but it is coming from the bona fide. He gives the disciple session very clearly. That is very nice, Mataji, because when you are speaking to someone or when you are giving a class, so we need to remember ourselves that we are not doing it. It is coming it from our teachers. So we need to give a gratitude to them. It's not that I made my notes and I'm coming and giving the class. No, it is coming from Prabhupada and everyone. I should remember that before I give the class and after I give the class, it's all going to them, not to me.
Yes, it's all
very, very nice, Mataji. Very beautiful summary. Thank you so much. And it is very clear and easy to understand. Last chapter and this chapter. Very grateful to you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes,
So we open up the forum for the question and answers. If anybody have questions, realizations, please go ahead.
And yes, Vinita Gandharvika Mataji, before anybody goes up, I would like to say that we should always remember that we are just the postman. We are delivering the message of the Supreme Lord or our predecessors, acharyas. So we are just a postman. Like the postman doesn't do anything with the mails. Whatever he gets, he just comes and deliver it to our house. So similarly, we should also think that I'm just a postman. I'm delivering the message that is being given to me by my spiritual master, and from my spiritual master to his spiritual master to his spiritual master. And this way the succession flows. So definitely, as you said, we should be very, very grateful to our predecessor acharyas, and we should never ever take credit, because the moment we take credit, that's the end of our spiritual life. So we should never ever take credit, rather give credit to our acharyas, our gurus. Thank you. That was really nice. Yes, dear devotees, you can ask if you have any questions. I'll try to answer. Okay.
If no questions, we can end the call for today. I would
Sorry,
like to
it was a
offer
very
my
small chapter today, but
yes, Mataji, very small chapter. And thank you so much, dear devotees, for continuously joining every week and learning Srimad Bahagvatam. We look forward for all of your associations again on next Thursday. I would like to offer my obeisances to you and all the Vaishnavas assembled on the call, Mataji. Vancha kalpatarobhyasya kripa sindhubhyo eva patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Ananta koti Vaishnav vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Har Grace Kirtida Sundari Mataji ki jai.
Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai.
Jai. Thank you, Mataji. Thank you, dear devotees. Closing the call. Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.